Welcome back. I'm talking to David McCann about his book, A Madness Shared by Two. Now then, David, you were just listing for us the reasons why these women seem to have been treated specially and therefore were possibly under some kind of special observation. Just list them for us.
Yeah, so just briefly, there they are. They've arrived about 8:40 in the morning, quite panicked up, reporting Sabina's children being kidnapped by her partner and men associated to her. That's that one there. Now that, to me, that's a green flag, that's a green light, because all they did was done a brief inquiry and let them go. Now, you know, when someone makes a serious accusation like that, you would act on it, but they've let them go. The next thing, they've gone from that police station and now appeared on a coach. They've said that the coach driver insisted that they put their bags under the hole. Well, that's got to be a fabrication. I'll tell you why. They was already on the coach, weren't they?
Right.
They was already travelled. The coach driver would now not all of a sudden halfway through the journey say, right, I want you, now you've got them bags on you, I want you to put them on the coach.
Okay.
It doesn't happen. Plus their hand luggage. You read the National Express's own stuff. You're allowed to carry them, aren't you? They're not under the goods, under the coach. So that didn't happen. Melissa Dutton, who was the manager of Kill Services.
So they're being kicked off the bus allegedly. And then they're kind of stranded at this service station, and
well, so that's it. So they're at the Kill Services. Okay, it didn't happen. It wasn't a driver change. The police said it was a driver change. If you look at the official police story, they said the driver changed. But Kill Services never is a changeover for this service, for this particular coach, or the other coach that they could have maybe got, which I've suggested by accident. So the Melissas looked at them and thought, hello, I don't like the way they're holding the bags. As if they own everything they own in their life is being held to their chest.
You've got quite a long statement from Melissa Dutton.
Yeah, that's right.
All in the book, yeah.
Yeah, and I interviewed her after the event. So anyways, what I'm saying is, so she was concerned that they was carrying a bomb.
Right.
Now, if you mention a bomb to a 999 call and you're a manager of a service station, look how they reacted to the megabus incident only recently last year, when an e-cigarette, or was it a smoking bag, they shut down the motorway, they tented it off, they had armed, trained officers everywhere. Yeah, there was no mention of a bomb, yet in Sabina's and Ursula's case, this manager's reported suspicious of a bomb. Who did they send? 3 police walked up. Says only 2, but actually 3 police officers arrived. They've done a name check, and that's when you get it again. They've done a name check, and they've decided to let the girls go without searching them or searching their luggage or anything. So that's exceptionally a green light again.
And then the third one is what
the third one is to be released after from hospital only after 5 years of and your sister is still in intensive care.
Okay. The film crew, Mentorn, who BBC had obviously commissioned to make this documentary, the whole crew was changed halfway through the production of that documentary, is that right?
Yeah, according to the Hollinshead family, because they obviously were being interviewed by the crew.
So that suggests to me, it's again, someone's not happy with the information that's been put in that documentary and has wanted to control it in some way.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what it shows, doesn't it?
One final comment on the filming, right? Throughout my whole life, right, and when I've been involved in whatever incident it might be, see someone shoplifting or a car accident or whatever, never ever in my life has there just so happened to be a film crew filming it when I've been there in any incident, right? So I find that a very big coincidence that they just so happened to be there. I feel that there was some kind of plot for them to be there. I can't prove that, and I don't know that that's true, but I can
see where you're coming from, because I mean I've gone down them lines of thought as well, and it's there to be open, to be debated. But
I tell you what I'll do, David, just for the sake of speediness, I'll just run through what allegedly happened. Okay. So she's released from the court. She hangs around to about 4 p.m. in this court. She's in an area that she's not familiar with, and she's hanging around the court, and then about 3.5 hours later, it's about 7:30 p.m. she starts talking to Glen Hollinshead, and then at some point she goes back to his house with one of Hollinshead's friends, and they then share some drinks till quite late at night. The friend goes back to get some beer and then comes back to the house. At some point she goes out of the house for 10 minutes and comes back. They don't know where she went. Eventually the friend leaves the house. This is Malloy, and you've got a full statement from him, and you've interviewed him. Then Sabina stays the whole day at the house, sorry, the whole evening at the house. They don't think they had sex.
And the night,
right, they don't think they had sex because that was, there was tests done, right? Then she presumably was there the whole of the following day, and the following evening,
that's right,
this is when Glen Hollinshead was stabbed. But no one's seen her stab him. Someone saw him coming out with blood, etc. She runs away, and you've uncovered massive anomalies in the evidence that you think there was at least one other person involved in that murder. So that's a brief summary, right? I want to make one point here, David. Apparently, when Malloy was talking to her in Hollinshead's house, he said that she was acting totally normally and no signs of any injuries. That she wasn't in pain or anything like this. Now, to me, that says to me one of two things. Either one, she wasn't hit by a vehicle, all that was fabricated, or she possibly has some sort of, she's not normal, in other words. I couldn't understand how she's just offering them cigarettes and having a drink, and seemingly she was anxious and looking out the window, but how isn't she completely in agony? That was one thing that made me curious, that I couldn't understand.
I mean, apart from, as you know, drugs is obviously, certain drugs is
can take that away.
Take any kind of pain away, as you know. But
so this woman she's released from the court, and she's kind of hanging around, and she somehow bumps into Hollinshead. So just take it from there, David.
That's it. So I've always been led to believe in the documentary that, according to Peter Malloy himself, that they met Sabina just outside Christchurch, which is next to the Fenton Magistrates Court. They'd been drinking at that pub called the Royal Oak. Now, the fact of the matter is, another important thing that we got back that's never been passed before is Glen's property. Well, the police returned his mobile phone. Now, that mobile phone has not been switched on for over 4 years. Well, I got it, I charged it, I had to buy a battery because the battery had gone, hoping I'd find something. And it turns out we did. We got text messages. One from Peter Malloy, which proved Peter Malloy hadn't contacted Glen for 36 hours, which is, on his own statements, is a bit odd. Right. And what I mean is, a bit odd, what I'm saying is that he promised to go round and visit Glen the next day, or text him or phone him, but he didn't. Why didn't he?
Right.
He's the lad that lives local. Now,
so Peter,
but this phone, this phone message proved, because I had to then phone the person whose name came up, called Mick, who was a friend of Glen's. Right. It turns out Glen had already met a woman, blonde, well, not many women in that day, about 3.5 hours before Peter Malloy allegedly said it happened.
So he might have chatted to her some hours before. Peter Malloy thought that Hollinshead was meeting this Sabina for the first time. Yeah. So he may have actually spoken to her some hours earlier. And
if you look at Simon, who is Sabina's son, he was widely defended his mother over the years on social networks. So Simon seems to indicate in his conversation that his mother knew Glen in some way.
Okay. Now, but you've not managed to get an interview with Simon, have you?
He won't. None of them will ever speak.
So what you've done is you've gone on social media networking sites and just looked at
through all the comments.
Okay,
so we've got through the comments for that.
It's some evidence, but it's not as good as getting an interview with him.
Oh, definitely, no. But if you've got to say, these are his own conversations he's had over a period of 6 years. Right. 6 years. He mentions America, he mentions Sweden, Norway, everything. Not once does he ever mention Ireland. It
would be good to ask him where his mother was between those missing years as well.
But he's adamant. He doesn't seem to want to talk at all. He's quite annoyed about it. He's actually made statements of people like, interfering in his family's life, and he's been quite rude about it. So.
Right. Okay. Now, we don't know that she was in Hollinshead's house the whole of the following day, although we presume she was, because she's then, this incident happens where Hollinshead gets stabbed. That's right. So do you think she was there in his house the whole day?
It seems to be that was the case. Right. Even though we do know that she'd gone out the
previous night for 10 minutes.
Yeah, for 10 minutes. It seemed to be maybe to use the phone. Yeah. What's intriguing is that she had a laptop. Now, when she went to open her laptop, she wanted to show them photos of her family on the laptop, but couldn't.
She didn't know the password.
She didn't know the password. So I believe it's either there, maybe Sabina's, Ursula's. It could be possibly, because she did have her passport on her as well. But
she's possibly stayed there the whole day with Hollinshead. Yeah, and then at some point, Hollinshead gets stabbed, although there's no witness that she actually put the knife in.
Not at all.
And there are here's one point, David, which I found extremely what's the word, suspicious, is that get this, the coroner is the same coroner for Charles de Menezes, and the same, who was this, it's Dr. Shorrock, and the same coroner in the Tomlinson case. This is the police officer who pushed Tomlinson over and he died.
So, 27 process,
if you follow cases such as the Charles de Menezes case, you realise there's been massive cover-up in that. So presumably it's possible that this coroner is someone who's will write the report the way they wanted to. You've got information about the coroner's report, David, that's not publicly available. Tell us about that. Right.
Well, again, on that, we also have another pathologist, Dr. Kohler. Now, Dr. Kohler was for the prosecution.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that, again, like you said, when there's cover-ups, they make things convenient. Now, in this case, Dr. Kohler and Dr. Shorrock, the two pathologists, come from the same stable. Right. They come from the same office. So that's nice and easy to keep everything in house.
Right.
The same thing, let me just go off for a second, the Crown prosecution and the defence teams who actually done the court hearings also come from the same chambers, number 5.
Right.
So you've got the coroners come from the same shop and the prosecution and the defence teams.
We'll come on to the trial in a second, but continue.
So then what I'm saying is, it clearly, what's unusual with Kohler's report, Kohler doesn't mention anything about the width of the blade, for instance. Now, when you write a coroner's report, you write the width, the length, the depth, everything, you know, the dimensions, so you can clearly get in your head for your fella peer to be able to read it, know exactly what this weapon was recovered. So he doesn't mention the width of it, which is convenient in certain ways. What I mean is it doesn't then come obvious to you, the differences in the 4 wounds that were found on Glen. However, they did Shorrock covering his arse in a way, because he's been criticised for the Tomlinson case and he's been done on the
de
Menezes. So he's basically, this time around, said in his opinion it's a possibility there was another weapon involved.
Right.
He does clearly go on to the other page that in his eyes only one weapon was a causative weapon that caused the heart, and that the other 3 wounds were done by another weapon. So, and I done this, I don't know if you can see here quickly.
There's a lot of detail in
There's a diagram of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that shows you clearly, when you're seeing the book, clearly that these are different sized weapons.
And there's also the position of the wounds on the body suggests that someone's maybe held the person while someone else has stabbed them, perhaps.
That's right.
So, again, it's possible that she's some kind of patsy in all of this.
Yeah.
Now, and then we've got the testimony of Joshua Garrett. Now, I'm going to say straight off, as soon as I saw this guy in the documentary, I just thought, who is this smooth-looking plant?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Right, and you've looked at his testimony and asked him for an interview, and he won't be interviewed.
Time and time again. And then you realise he was hailed as a local hero.
Now, he's the guy who tackled Sabina when she was supposedly fleeing from this murder.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to have stopped his car and ran after her, and you've done all the calculations as to where she was running from and to. And
I've run it.
Yeah, there's no way that he could have caught her and done what he said he did.
No, not in the timescale and according to the police's own statements.
Right.
And not only that, we put it to him to say, well, how did this happen? And he realised we've tumbled him, and that's why I don't think he's come back.
Right.
Because it cannot happen. His sequence of events of him fighting and taking the hammer off Sabina at the end of Duke Street.
Yeah.
If that did happen, then how come so many 999 calls were being received, seeing Sabina after the event up by the motorway on the roundabout, still with the hammer?
Yeah, I mean,
so did he take it off or not?
We're only touching on some of the things which show there's some kind of cover-up in this case. But let me just list some of them, David, so we can get them in. The Hollinshead requested the court bundle and still haven't managed to get hold of it. The medical records of Sabina were requested from Sweden, and they couldn't get hold of them. Now, the judge said that the twins suffered from a rare temporary bout of insanity. Okay, and now, just answer this question for me, David. Why wasn't this a jury trial? Is there a clear answer to that?
Yes, because if this gone to a jury, undoubtedly Sabina would have to have been found not guilty.
Right.
Because the evidence isn't there that would give you a conclusive be able to conclusively find her beyond reasonable doubt guilty.
Right.
It's just not there. So weak.
Right.
The case itself, because as I say, going to the coroner's report.
Right.
I found out now, you'll see in the book as well, Sabina's left-handed for once.
Right.
For one.
Right.
All the wounds are on this side.
Right. Okay.
So for what I'm saying, if on your side, it's there, here, there, and now.
Yeah.
Now, a left-handed person, they would be here.
Yeah.
But they're all on that side, indicating there was definitely a third person involved.
Right.
Let me just quickly say as well. Yeah. She had, when you see on the documentary, Peter Malloy said she had a clear plastic bag, which sounds like the police bags, you know, custody bags. She had a clear plastic bag with her red long coat that she had on the motorway that she slips off. That was in the bag. Her laptop was in the bag. Some mobile phones were in the bag. Cigarettes, CDs, and this kind of thing was in the bag. Now, had Sabina done what she had meant to have done to Glen, when she ran out the house and then up to the motorway, that happened. Some days later, some days after the event, after she'd jumped off and she'd been arrested, some days later, all her coat and her stuff, not the laptop I'm saying, or the phones, but her coat and her personal cigarette boxes and CD covers were found discarded on a mud pathway, which they took as a shortcut from the oak to the thing. So what I'm saying is, how did that stuff get abandoned? Right. So what I'm saying is, that could have only been taken at the very instance this fight took place with Glen. Right. And whoever ran out of the house with the bag, looked in it, discarded the stuff up the alleyway, because how else did it get there? Sure.
It sounds to me like there could well have been at least one other person involved in that.
Yeah.
And as I say, we're not, you know, there's quite a lot of things we haven't covered, but let me just read this out to finish, David.
Yeah.
Because the Hollinsheads are trying to get this investigated.
Yeah.
And these are the questions that the Hollinsheads want answers to. Why did the Staffordshire Police ignore what happened in Liverpool and not mention it in the BBC documentary? Why did the police officers in the BBC documentary say what they did, knowing what had really happened at St Anne's Street Police Station in Liverpool? Why was this Section 136 film footage edited out of the BBC documentary, and who was responsible for doing this? Why did they feel the need to do this? Why did the three AMHPs and other professionals agree Sabina was fit and well for release only 5 hours after the incident, when the recommendation is normally 72 hours in such circumstances, and considering her twin sister was still in intensive care? Why did the magistrate not ask for a pre-sentence report before sentencing Sabina? Why was the assault charge against PC Corp dropped? Why is the coroner's report and the first post-mortem carried out by Dr. Kohler, why does it not include the width of the blade of the knife at the scene? Why doesn't he highlight the obvious presence of a second weapon like that of Dr. Shorrock? Why is there still no toxicology results in the report? Why is the Hollinshead family being denied access to the court bundle of evidence in this case? Why haven't the UHNS replied or tried to assist the Hollinshead family in this matter? The question of compensation for Hollinshead family ought to be considered. So, you know, you've highlighted all of these in your book, David, and I do, you know, commend your research for that. And if people do want to research this case themselves, then they need to get hold of this book just to find out and try and fill in, because there's so many questions that you've raised by doing your research, David.
Yeah, you clearly see why I've come to the assumption of why I think they were involved in a police cover-up. It's been involved in a police cover-up because purely they were under police observation, involved what they were involved with. The e-book, I'll just let Aizen to add, because you're showing the paperback there. Yeah. The e-book carries 24,000 more words in the appendix, and that's where we cover the MK Ultra and Super soldiers more than this. This is more on the evidence that's been presented to us as a criminal case. Right. I'm open-minded on this, but through going on what previous experience, it's a police cover-up for sure. Other authorities are involved as well. They've put themselves in it. What they're covering up, who knows for certain?
All right then, David. Well, thanks very much again. And remember, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. I'm Richard D. Hall. Good night.